Ayy, look, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
Let's go ahead and get into the NBA breaking news, the news that shocked the world today. The news that made waves throughout the internet, man, and that's the Damian Lillard sweepstakes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a winner, and it is not the team that we thought would win the sweepstakes. And the winner of the Damian Lillard sweepstakes is the Milwaukee Bucks. Surprisingly, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Portland Trailblazers were able to agree on a 3-team deal, including the Phoenix Suns earlier today. The Milwaukee Bucks received Damian Lillard. The Portland Trailblazers received Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, 2029 first-round pick, and 2 pick swaps from the Milwaukee Bucks that will be discussed at a later date. And the Phoenix Suns were able to receive Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. Damian Lillard is finally out of the Portland Trailblazers. He's finally not running from the grind, moving into a different direction. But with Damian Lillard now going to the Milwaukee Bucks, let's go ahead and grade the trade, and also answer where does this duo rank in the Milwaukee Bucks? What were you gonna say, BH?
I got one question. I'd be since the first day that he requested the trade, you're 98.9% sure Dame is gonna be wearing a Miami jersey. It's been 3 months. It's been 3 months. They've been flirting with you. They've been flirting, going back and forth, and today they're like, you know what?
I think everybody was surprised about this trade. Of course,
surprised.
Like him going to Milwaukee is a huge surprise, but him not even just going to the Heat in general was a huge surprise, considering the fact that, of course, him requesting only to go to Miami, his agent coming out saying that he wants to go to Miami, and today his agent did have a statement about how the fact that it takes 2 to make a deal. The Miami Heat, they actually. They tried their best. Mickey, Pat Riley, the entire organization, they tried their best. It just didn't work out. And for the Milwaukee Bucks, is 100% A++ grade. Drew Holiday, he is a playoff dropper. That's just a fact. If you look at Drew Holiday's playoff numbers, his shooting is not good at all. Last year and the year before, even the season that they had won in the NBA championship, Drew Holiday's shooting numbers were not good at all. In terms of his playoff numbers, they always dip. He has one of the lowest true shooting percentages in the playoffs every time. And now you replace him with, arguably a top 5 scorer in the league, the second best shooter in the league, in my opinion, one of the best pull-up jump shooters, and you pair him alongside the best paint finisher in the league. I mean, that's a match made in heaven. It can't get any better than that. Now you have a situation where it's not just Giannis in those late situations. You literally have Damian Lillard, who's one of the most clutch players in the entire NBA, and now you have that coming into the playoffs. The Milwaukee Bucks, one of their biggest issues always was, their shooting and pull-up jump shooting. Chris Middleton was consistently hurt. Now with Chris Middleton being relegated to a third option, I think that's even huge because he's taking backs. He can absolutely do well in that position where he's a third option. He's no longer that second option. He's always been a kind of a reliable player, but injuries have kind of caught up with him. And now for that team, I think that's an A+. I'm just kind of confused on, what the hell the Suns have going on in this trade. I don't know why they would decide to go and get Yusuf Nurkic. I don't think he has any relevancy to them in this trade because you had your complaints about DeAndre Ayton and reservations about him, and I understand that DeAndre Ayton, he has issues whether it comes to efforts and engagement. But now KD is your best defensive player in that entire lineup, and that's an issue. I understand KD can be a decent enough rim protector and help side defender, but the lineup is not particularly full of plus defenders. I think Devin Booker is an average defender. Sometimes he can be a little bit above that, but outside of that, Bradley Beal is not the greatest defender these days. KD is just a rim protector. Yusuf Nurkic is not a defender at all. I just think that entire lineup, it just doesn't make as much sense to me anymore. DeAndre Ayton, I feel like his athleticism and his rebounding was enough to help this team now, especially that they had gotten Bradley Beal. So this team, I don't understand why they would even go out and try to involve themselves in this trade. But, for the Portland Trailblazers, I think this was, incoming that they were eventually going to move on from, Dame. And I think that they have some sort of they took a chance on DeAndre Ayton. They feel like there's some upside there. They got rid of an aging guy in Yusuf Nurkic who doesn't really fit their plans in terms of rebuild. And now you have Scoot, you have Sharp, you have Simons, you have Ayton, and you have Jeremy Grant there. You have pieces that you can build off of and continue to move forward. But like I said, the Miami Heat, we're the biggest losers in this all, and it's not because of our ability to make a trade. I just think that the Portland Trailblazers decided that they wanted to go out and get different assets, and I can't quite understand why they would decide that they would get DeAndre Ayton, who's on that contract. But I guess that they value him in that way, and that they want to build, they want to enter rebuild with a center like DeAndre Ayton. So the Milwaukee Bucks, I think they absolutely nailed it with this trade and pairing Giannis with a guy like Damian Lillard. Even though they are in our conference, I am excited to see about how that pairing works out.
Milwaukee, man, Giannis, I feel like, all the stuff Giannis been saying this offseason and, the past summer, talking about, hey, man, if I don't get, if the issue doesn't get fixed here or the problem, or does he see himself in Milwaukee forever and yada, 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 or his time might be up soon. I feel like this triggered the move to actually go get Dame Dollar. And I love this move for the Bucks and Giannis because, last year, if you look at the playoffs and, going down to those last minute stretches and Holiday having the ball, him not, finishing, Giannis is not your elite, closer like that. He's a big man, he's athletic, but you can build the wall against Giannis. Now, you got a type of player like Dame Lillard coming in, like one of the clutchest players in the league. It's tough, you got a closer right there. And I feel like it just spaces the floor more. It opens up the court a little more for, Giannis. It helps Middleton a little more. Probably helps Brook Lopez a little more. Probably we're going to have to see how defensively it works for them. But to me, they're the winners of this trade. And like I'd be said, the losers of this trade, Miami, obviously they weren't involved in this trade, but to come in here waiting for Dame Lillard for 3 months, not making any offseason moves, losing Max Struss and Gabe Vincent to the Cavs and to the Lakers, now not fixing the core issue of their problem in the playoffs and in the finals. Having that secondary elite scorer, having that secondary center right next to Bam to help them defensively and on the boards, and let Bam stretch the floor. They didn't fix that in the offseason. Their whole time, their idea was to get Dame Lillard, and Dame Lillard will make that trio with Bam and Jimmy, and they have a big three. That didn't happen. So for me, they lost pieces in this offseason. They didn't get Dame. They didn't fix their problems. For me, the biggest loser of this trade. I feel like Portland getting Ayton, it kind of gives Ayton that room to be that number one player that he always wanted to be in Phoenix. When Book that spot, CP3 came, KD came, they added Bill. He was always getting pushed back to being a third and fourth option. I can really see him on this, Portland team being a 1 and 2 option. Him getting a lot of touches, him working with these young guards on this team. He can prosper and become a great center. And then the Suns. Defensively, we know it was going to be in shambles, regardless of the situation. Even if KD was your best defensive player at the start of it or at the end of it, they're going to be horrendous defensively. I don't know why they got Nurk. I feel like Nurk is probably a better center compared to Ayton in this type of offense and this type of scheme because he doesn't require a lot of touches. He's not going to complain, and he's not going to quit on you like we've seen Ayton do in the past. So I feel like for them getting Nurk was just because of that and letting the other three work together to fulfill that offense. So crazy, wild trade. I feel like Dame's going to be happy playing with Giannis, man. That takes him, that brings him closer to that next step to getting that championship. And I really believe that he got the team to do it with the Bucks now. Suns, they're the Suns. We know they got KD and Book. And Portland, I'm pretty sure they only got one first-round pick in this trade.
A 2029 first-round pick and 2 pick swaps that'll be revealed at a later date. I'm not too sure when they'll give the full details, but they have 2 pick swaps. I think they're from Milwaukee.
2 pick swaps and Ayton and a first-round pick. Not too bad. I feel like Ayton is going to be a corner piece to that franchise, so we'll see what happens. But overall, Miami should be pissed off.
No doubt, man. No doubt. This move from the Milwaukee Bucks pretty much sent a message to all of the small market teams in the NBA. The message is pretty much that you want to do right by your superstar, and you're more than capable of building a NBA championship contending team, while also being a very, very small market team. I understand the Milwaukee Bucks are 2 years removed from winning an NBA championship, but they've also struggled in these last couple of years to get back to the mountaintop. And And then, them being in a very, very small market, it's kind of hard to attract free agents and stars. But they were able to, make a move like this and go ahead and grab a guy like Damian Lillard, man. A++. I'm on board with you guys as well, man. This is a great move. Big H mentioned a little bit, Giannis having his doubts on whether or not he was going to extend with this team. I think that those words only came out a couple of days ago, and the Milwaukee Bucks said, nah, if you need some help, we're going to go ahead and bring you some help. Help is on the way. And they ended up going out and acquiring a guy like Damian Lillard. So great move for the Milwaukee Bucks for sure. The Portland Trailblazers in this deal, I'm not too sure. I hope in the coming days we find out what offer the Miami Heat had on the table for the Portland Trailblazers, so we can go ahead and compare and see which team had the better deal. But for right now, they got a guy like Jrue Holiday who doesn't fit their plans. He'll pretty much be traded within the coming weeks. We'll be talking about that as well in a little bit. But while also acquiring a guy like DeAndre Ayton, this is a great fresh start for him. Removing himself from a toxic environment in Phoenix. It looked like he wasn't, his regular self when he first got there. Moving down the pecking order, only going down to fourth now with Bradley Beal coming into the fold. It's a fresh start and it's a new opportunity for him to adapt with a lot of these young guys. He fits their timeline. So I think he'll be there for the foreseeable future. He'll play out his contract with the Portland Trailblazers along with those young guards. And the Phoenix Suns, I kind of like this move a little bit for them. I think they did acquire a little bit of some more depth that was a big question, that the question mark for them coming into this season. They were a very aggressive team in the free agency market, trying to acquire as many guys as they could on like very short, very, very small, like vet minimum deals, nothing too crazy. So I think this is very solid in terms of depth. But after you did highlight defensively, they still have their issues. And I think for the idea for the Phoenix Suns coming into this season is just that we have three of the best scorers in the league with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, and we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and we're just going to outscore you guys. Defense does win championships, but in this era, it's a little bit different in comparison to the old days. They have a lot of scoring options that they can go to: Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. So they're just thinking, if we're able to outscore these guys, if we're able to just stay healthy, it's gonna be a problem for a lot of teams to outshoot us, outscore us, just because of their ability, just because of their scoring ability that they have. Yusuf Nurkic on an expiring deal, he won't be on that team for too long. I'm not too sure how much is left on that contract, maybe like a year or two, I think. So he won't be there for the future. He won't stick around for too long, but. Man, oh man, the Miami Heat. I honestly just don't know where to start with these guys, man. It's the one destination, the only destination I wanted Damian Lillard to go to was to the Miami Heat, man. It's just to help out a guy like Jimmy Butler, who was a playoff riser, as we've seen these last couple of years, to really help him out and really get Miami over the top, because the Miami Heat have been knocking on the door of an NBA championship, but that door just keeps on getting slammed shut. We saw it get slammed shut in the bubble against the Lakers. And this past year against the Denver Nuggets, where it looked like, obviously Jimmy Butler's out there doing all he can, but at the end of the day, he needs a secondary scorer alongside him. And so I'm not too sure what it is, with the Miami Heat and them losing out on sweepstakes. They missed out on, obviously Damian Lillard right now. They missed out on James Harden when he was coming out of Houston. All that issue was going on there. The Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes, they missed out on that opportunity, and they also missed out on the Bradley Beal opportunity. So now, that's 4 big sweepstakes that the Miami Heat have missed out on, and I'm not too sure where the Miami Heat go from here. So, I guess my question to you guys is: did the Miami Heat's championship window just close with this move?
I mean, I expect that they're gonna probably go out and try to get a guy like Jrue Holiday, but that's not enough to be a needle mover. You have the Bucks with Dame and Giannis, and then you have the Celtics with KP and Porzingis. Of course, you have the Cavs still looming around with their free agent signings, and I at this point, I don't know how to feel about this roster. I think at the end of the day, Spoelstra is a great coach, and I think Jimmy Butler, Bam, Hero, they're good enough players to guarantee that this team still ends up in a top 6 seed. They have, potentially they're looking at some leaps from some of their players and Jovic, but, losing Gabe Vincent and losing Max Strus, you still have Caleb, but, overall this team has gone worse. And, this team, I was thinking about the alternatives that they had, they kind of missed out because, you could have signed a backup like Christian Wood. You could have went out and got a guy like Kelly Oubre. You could have signed these marquee, some of these savvy veterans, these free agent signings, and potentially just helped out your roster, filled out some holes. But even that doesn't happen. So I think that the championship window is kind of closing because Jim Butler, as it stands, he is getting older. He's getting up there in age, and this roster hasn't necessarily improved a ton. Going back to last year, and so I don't necessarily see a championship window for this team, and I don't believe in a miracle where they're going to go from a play-in seed all the way to the finals again. I just can't see that happening.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, they didn't make the moves like some other teams did in the East to make their teams better. Like Boston over here acquiring Porzingis to fix some issues, and then now Milwaukee acquiring Dame Lillard. I feel like Miami has been stuck at the same spot, not giving Jimmy or Bam some help, not fixing the front court identity, and not adding another true scorer to the roster. And I feel like it's gonna it's gonna affect them in the near future. Jimmy's getting old, and it's not gonna him very much. And to speak about Drew Holiday, that's another guy that got traded. I know he's probably not gonna stay with Portland. He's probably gonna be on the trade market immediately. I don't know if he's gonna be on the buyout market, but that's another one of the guys that he can be on the championship contending team to look out for. So if Miami do want to see if they can get Drew Holiday and add him to the team, maybe that might be a piece. But yeah, tough summer for them. Losing Max Strus, losing Gabe Vincent, not fixing the death core issues, and not really getting another star player on the team.
The days of the Miami Heat just turning up in the playoffs and coasting through the regular season, I feel like those days are over now. I think they can continue to coast through the regular season to try to preserve a guy like Jimmy Butler, but at the end of the day, man, every team around them is getting better, while the Miami Heat are just kind of sticking with their Heat culture and sticking with the guys that they got and kind of just running it back. And that's the one thing that's always held them back, man. Their inability to go out there and make moves, losing out on all these sweepstakes and really acquiring another superstar to help aid a guy like Jimmy Butler, who's capable of, being the playoff riser that he is. And so I feel like there's not a move right now that they can make to go ahead and, continue and keep their championship window open. Whatever move that they make right now is only to just, it'll only help them with their playoff run for maybe 1 to 2 rounds. But when they go ahead and match up with a lot of these top teams in the Eastern Conference, one being the Boston Celtics and 2 being the Milwaukee Bucks, I feel like this team will continue to have some struggles, and they won't be able to, overcome all of that, because all the Miami Heat, that's the one thing, man. They just sit back and watch a lot of their, folks in the Eastern Conference get better, while, they kind of just stick to the grit and grind basketball, the Heat culture, and they really try to get the guys that they have bought in. But at the same time, it's like, you got to go out there and construct the best roster possible. And, that can come down to Pat Riley and that can come down to Mickey Arison. But at the same time, it's just like at the end of the day, if there's a deal that needs to be made, you have to go out there and make that deal. But Drew Holiday, let's go ahead and talk about him for a little bit. Obviously Drew Holiday, he did get moved to the Portland Trail Blazers, but he is not in their future plans. So he will be on the move in the coming weeks. Where would be the best landing spot for a guy like Drew Holiday? Just give me one destination.
I guess the obvious one would be Miami, especially after losing out on Dame sweepstakes. I think they would be trying to go for a viable replacement. And of course, Drew Holiday is still a solid player, but he's in no Damian Lillard. But another destination that I think everybody's been kind of talking about, throwing out there is Philadelphia 76ers. I think, James Harden's situation is still going on. His standoff with Daryl Morey still been going on. I mean, he was in the club, with signs talking about Daryl Morey's a liar. So, they're still having their standoff. They're still going at it. Those two, I think their relationship is past, fixing. So I think a situation could happen where there's like a 3-team trade, Harden sent maybe to the Clippers, and, I think Drew Holiday's sent to the Philadelphia 76ers. And something else is, maybe some pieces are sent to Portland Trail Blazers to help them continue to rebuild. So I think really just Philly and Miami are the 2 viable options.
Yeah, I mean, I do see Philly as a viable option with, James Harden's situation going on. And then obviously Miami, yes, but I'm intrigued to see that Philadelphia option. I'm pretty sure he's from Philly, if I'm not too correct, him and his brothers. Pretty sure they're from Philly. I know he's talked about retirement pretty soon. Who knows? He got like a year left on his contract or 2 years left. He probably wants to retire at home. I mean, Philly is a good team for him, but Miami's probably the best place he could be in. the type of culture that they have, I feel like he plays that type of basketball. I feel like he fits in right with them. That hard nosed type of basketball, that physical defense basketball. That gritty basketball. So I feel like Miami's the best choice for him. I do want to see what Portland is going to ask if they don't buy him out. I don't know if Miami wants to come back to the table, try to make another trade with him, but we'll see what happens.
I think the Miami here are pretty much just hoping that they just buy out his contract so they can go ahead and just pick him up for free, because I don't think they're willing to go back to the negotiation table with the franchise that just did him dirty. For me, I feel like the best destination for Jrue Holiday would be the Boston Celtics, and I feel like a lot of people have kind of had their feelings about this so far the last couple of hours since the trade has been made. I think Jrue Holiday will fit like a glove with this Boston Celtics team, man, if they're able to make this type of move. The Boston Celtics, they understood that the roster that they had these last couple of years just wasn't good enough, to win an NBA championship. 2 years ago, they were in the NBA Finals. They had themselves a nice little run post January, and they're able to, make it to the NBA Finals. But unfortunately, they were able to come up. They weren't able to, finish the job. They came up short. Last year, they went through, obviously going down 3-0 to the Miami Heat, knocking on the door of a finals berth. But Jason Tatum getting an ankle injury in Game 7 really hurt their chances of clinching the NBA Finals berth again. And they made some pretty big moves this past offseason. They moved off from Marcus Smart, a guy who's been their point guard, a vocal leader in the locker room. They sent him to Memphis in order to acquire a guy like Kristaps Porzingis to, add more big man depth, add more front court depth along with guys like Robert Williams and Al Horford. And I feel like if you add Jrue Holiday into this mix, you're pretty much getting a very good Marcus Smart replacement with a guy that is slightly better offensively. I wouldn't say he's crazy better offensively than Marcus Smart, but he's still a very good offensive player in comparison to a guy like Marcus Smart. And so you wouldn't necessarily rely too much on Jrue Holiday doing a whole lot of scoring alongside guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and also Kristaps Porzingis. You just really need him to lock up and play defense, facilitate the offense a little bit. It will take the pressure off Jason Tatum and his ball handling duties, and also score from time to time. You don't need a crazy scoring output from Jrue Holiday in this offense on this team. You leave all the scoring to those three guys, and you just let Jrue Holiday be the defensive menace that he is. So I feel like Boston would be a very, very good destination for a guy like Jrue Holiday. The Miami Heat, if they're able to get their hands on him, would be a good spot for him. But it's not a crazy needle mover for me. I feel like at that point they're taking whatever's left over from that deal, and it'll maybe help the Miami Heat a little bit. But come playoff time, like Abdi mentioned to start off this topic, Jrue Holiday isn't the playoff riser at all. He's a playoff dropper. So that's not really a guy like that Jimmy Butler wants, riding shotgun with. You need a guy that's going to be able to put the ball in the hole and also be a playoff riser alongside a guy like Jimmy Butler, who's a playoff riser himself. The interesting fit that I can't just really understand is just the Philadelphia 76ers. I understand he may be from there and all of that, and they're probably moving on from James Harden in the coming weeks as well once that deal happens. But I just don't know what a deal will look like between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to retain Maxey, and Maxey will be the 2 guard, and you'll have Jrue Holiday at the 1. But does that really move the needle for the Philadelphia 76ers? Does that really help their chances of clinching an Eastern Conference Finals for the first time with Joel Embiid and all of that, and being NBA Finals contenders? I'm not too sure, man. I think the one thing that we'll be talking about throughout the course of this NBA season, since the NBA season is right around the corner, is just the time that the Philadelphia 76ers have. There's not much time left for a guy like Joel Embiid. We've been seeing these last couple of years, a lot of superstars have been on the move. And, Joel Embiid being a top 5 player that he is, I'm not too sure how much time left he has in the Philadelphia 76ers uniform. So I think that's one thing that we're going to continue to monitor as the NBA season goes on. But like I said, for me, I think the best destination for a guy like Jrue Holiday would be the Boston Celtics. I think he'd fit like a glove. And those guys would be, those guys would be able to compete right now with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think as of right now, as it stands, the Milwaukee Bucks are right back to being the best team in the East, and the Boston Celtics are just right behind them. But that pretty much wraps up our NBA discussion for tonight. We're
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Me and now Lakes, now that's overkill.